The first question that's on my mind is that in the recent brouhaha, it has been alleged that social justice is code language for a secular left-wing ideology through which one group's vision of what is just and fair is imposed on others. And I'm curious to hear how either one of you respond to the assertion, the allegation that when we talk about social justice, it inevitably is elevating one group's interests over the others.
Well, I'll start by saying, first of all, I think that commentator, when he did it, he actually held up on the TV. I don't have cable, but I saw it on the internet later, where he holds up a swastika and a hammer and sickle and says, code word for Nazism and communism. And I thought, there's a little bit of difference between those two philosophies, which are kind of bizarre. But I think it's more, I don't know that he actually thinks in an intellectual way that this is what he means by this. I think he's just throwing out that stuff because it's, he's just throwing that out because he knows those are bad things and people hate those things, and therefore he can say this is code word for those bad things. But the concept of social justice, yes, I suppose if you decide that's one side's political point of view is social justice is a good thing, because social justice might mean some people will contribute more so other people can have more. Some people might not be able to contribute as much as others. I mean, much of our political system, our income tax code is supposed to be based on that. If you have more money, you give more. If you have less money, you're going to have less of a tax bill. And given the fact our overall tax code works the opposite way, where it's regressive, maybe some people think we ought to be a little more of that. And if that's an ideological thing that, oh, the Democrats believe that you should do more of this, well, I guess maybe that's why I'm a DFLer, I guess, because I happen to think that's right. I just happen to think most people, I don't think it's a partisan thing. And I'd be surprised to see, I mean, I picture so many Republicans in this state, the Al Quees and Elmer Andersons and former governors. I picture they'd have a fit if you were going to say, that's not our party. We don't believe in that. We think that let people sink or swim on their own, and you know, if we get some blessings in life and we started out on the right foot and we got some good things happen, well, that's important. But I don't think most Republicans would want to say it's a partisan thing. I think most parties, most people across the political spectrum would say, yeah, we care about others, and so there is a small sector that's saying, that's those folks. I think most people aren't in that camp, and if it is, well, I'll claim I'm in the camp that says we ought to share.
I'll pick up on one word from Professor Booth. The accusation that you're elevating the interests of one group over another group almost always only comes up if you reduce everything to the economics. The 10th Federalist paper of James Madison says the health of a republic is the diversity of interests, properties, sects, etc. You break it open, you have a lot of fluid things. There are a lot of things I share with my income group on pro or con on taxes that I shared an entirely different set of people with in my taste in the arts, the music I'm going to go to, the character of the community in which I live, etc. Our lives are jumbles of interests, and it is in my interest that my neighbor is not dying when they don't have to. It's in my interest and my group's interest that there be shelter where there isn't. And we all know the horrendous statistics of what isn't there, and any of us, any of you who work close to it know how much that is. Here again, is this plain human interest and religious interest is a larger concept of care. And I still have never quite figured out how it's elevating a group's interest over another if you actually change the concept of saying that because I'm a citizen, in biblical language we are members one of another. It always talks the plural before the singular in order to make the singular stand out. It's always the people of Israel, the people of God, etc. Before it talks about, I don't think they know what it means to say, are you saved? They're saved as a people, and if the whole place is healthy, you're all saved through it. And I think that that would be the extension, if we could think of all the other things that go with the word interest, and not just property tax.
On that, I want to add one more thing. In terms of that, the interest, it is a shared interest. When we got to the national debate on health care and the president made a decision I thought was an unfortunate one, he decided you couldn't sell the idea of covering people who are in the country illegally. He told a joint session of Congress, don't worry, we're not going to cover people in the country illegally. And a member of Congress stands up and yells, you lie. And so it made national news what he said. But the next day, the White House backed off and said, don't worry, not only are we not going to cover people through the public option, but we're not going to let them buy through the private exchange either. And that was, I don't think he really believes that. I don't think he thinks that's a good idea. First of all, it's not universal health care. But on top of that, think about what it means to people. You mean, in other words, the people who, if you go to South St. Paul and the meatpacking plants, you'll find a number of workers there who might not be documented immigrants. You look at any McDonald's or fast food place or a lot of restaurants, people handling the food, a lot of them are not documented immigrants. So if they have infectious diseases, we're not going to treat them, and that's good for everybody else. So there are a lot of things. I mean, the whole concept, I mean, when people say, I don't get anything from government, well, I don't want to pay taxes to it. The roads, what are we going to do? We each pay for the roads we want to drive on? I'll pay for the property in front of my house. Well, we're just going to have a pretty weird system in an economic. We do, the wealthiest people in our society do best when everybody's thriving. We all do better when we all do better, as Wellstone said. So it's even from a purely economic point of view, we're all in this together.